Imagine this. You're wandering through a labyrinth of crumbling stone walls, vines twisting like forgotten memories around arches that once echoed with laughter and market cries. The sun filters through a canopy of ancient trees, casting shadows on streets silent for centuries. No battles scarred these stones, no invaders toppled these towers. These cities simply faded away, vanished into the whispers of time, victims not of swords, but of shifting sands, drying rivers, and the slow grind of nature's indifference. Welcome to a journey into the eerie, mind-boggling world of urban ghosts. By the end, you'll wonder, what hidden forces could erase an entire civilization overnight? Or worse, could it happen to our cities today? Let's start with a slow unraveling in the heart of the Jordanian desert. Picture Petra, the Rose City, carved into pink sandstone cliffs around 300 BCE by the Nabateans. This wasn't some backwater outpost. It was a thriving metropolis of 30,000 souls, a Silk Road pit stop where camel caravans unloaded frankincense from Arabia and spices from India. Daily life here pulsed with ingenuity. Wake up in a rock-hewn home, cool against the scorching sun, and head to the Seek, a narrow gorge entrance guarded by towering walls that funneled wind like a natural AC. Merchants would haggle in the Treasury Plaza, its facade a masterpiece of Hellenistic columns and Nabatean urns. Mind-boggling fact, Petra's water system was engineering genius. Channels, dams, and cisterns captured flash floods, storing enough for a year in this arid hell. They even had underground pipelines feeding public fountains where women gossiped while filling terracotta jugs. But here's the hook. Why did this hydraulic marvel, untouched by war, empty out like a ghost town? It wasn't invaders, it was something as mundane as trade routes shifting, but with consequences that doomed empires. By the 4th century CE, Roman annexation integrated Petra, but earthquakes in 363 CE cracked the infrastructure. More crucially, sea trade via the Red Sea bypassed the overland paths, starving the economy. Caravans dwindled, markets quieted. Families packed up seeking greener pastures in Damascus or Gaza. Over centuries, Bedouin nomads knew the ruins but kept them secret. Rediscovered in 1812 by Swiss explorer Johann Burckhardt, disguised as a Muslim pilgrim, Petra's slow fade reveals how globalization's whims can kill cities. Curiosity piqued? Imagine walking its empty theaters today, seating 8,000, echoes of plays long silenced. Shifting sands take us next to the lush jungles of Cambodia, where Angkor Wat stands as a sentinel over a vanished empire. Built in the 12th century by Khmer King Suryavarman II, this wasn't just a temple, it anchored a sprawling city of over 1 million people, larger than any European capital at the time. Daily routine? Rise with the monsoon rains pattering on thatched roofs, then toil in rice paddies irrigated by the Beret reservoirs, massive man-made lakes holding billions of gallons. A farmer might pray at the temple's bas-reliefs, depicting Hindu epics like the churning of the ocean of milk before joining corvée labor gangs to maintain the hydraulic network. Mind-boggling, Angkor's system of canals and moats spanned 1,000 square kilometers, using gravity to flood fields twice a year, yielding surplus rice that fed armies and built monuments. But what silent killer drained this watery wonderland, leaving only monkeys chattering in the ruins? And why did the Khmer elite abandon their godly city without a fight? Climate change, yes, even in the 1400s. Tree ring data and sediment cores show prolonged droughts from the Little Ice Age disrupted monsoons. Canals silted, reservoirs cracked. By 1431, King Ponya Yat relocated the capital to Phnom Penh for better river access. The jungle reclaimed Angkor, roots prying apart stones like slow-motion demolition. French naturalist Henri Mouhot rediscovered it in 1860, mistaking it for Roman ruins. Today, laser scans reveal a grid of suburbs buried under forest, proof of a slow ecological collapse. If droughts felled Angkor, what about modern megacities facing water wars? Now let's trek to the American Southwest, where the ancestral Pueblanos built cliff dwellings in Mesa Verde around 600 CE. These weren't caves, they were multi-story apartments etched into canyon walls, housing up to 2,500 in places like Cliff Palace. Daily life was a ballet of survival. A woman might grind corn on metates at dawn, while men hunted deer with atlats in pinon forests. Kivas, underground ceremonial rooms, hosted rituals with turkey feather blankets and turquoise beads traded from Mexico. Mind-boggling, they farmed on mesa tops using dry farming techniques, channeling runoff to maize fields that sustained them for 700 years without irrigation. Why did these sky-high strongholds empty by 1300 CE with no arrowheads or battle scars to blame? It was a perfect storm of nature's betrayal, but one that whispers warnings to us. Mega-droughts lasting 20 to 30 years scorched the land. Dendrochronology confirms it. Soil eroded, game vanished, social stress mounted, evidence of malnutrition in bones, perhaps leading to internal conflicts, but no war. Families migrated south to the Rio Grande, blending with other Pueblo groups. Rediscovered in 1888 by cowboys, Mesa Verde's pottery shards and murals tell of a gradual exodus. Archaeologists found rooms stocked with goods, as if residents planned to return, but never did. California's water crises echo this slow thirst. Venturing north to the Mississippi Valley, Cahokia rises like a mirage. Around 1050 CE, this Mississippian city boasted 20,000 inhabitants, bigger than London then, with earthen mounds towering 100 feet. Daily grind, a builder hauled dirt baskets to construct Monk's Mound, the largest prehistoric earthwork in the Americas. Markets traded chert tools from Illinois quarries and shells from the Gulf. Woodhenge, a solar calendar of cedar posts, guided planting festivals with drumming and feasting on venison stew. Mind-boggling, Cahokia's urban planning included plazas for chunky games, sustaining a chiefdom without writing or wheels. What invisible hand dismantled this mound metropolis by 1350 CE, leaving no siege evidence? And how did its fall reshape Native American history? Environmental overkill. Deforestation for fuel and building stripped hills, causing floods and soil depletion. Pollen records show crop failures. Human remains indicate starvation. No invaders, just a slow diaspora to smaller villages. Rediscovered in the 1800s, its mounds were nearly plowed over for farms. Today, it's a UNESCO site, reminding us how resource exhaustion can silently kill societies. Imagine if New York deforested its surroundings. What then? Across the Atlantic to Africa, Great Zimbabwe emerges from granite hills around 1100 CE. This stone city, home to 18,000, featured the great enclosure with walls 36 feet high, built without mortar, using interlocking blocks. Daily life, a cattle herder drove herds through acacia savannas, trading gold nuggets for Indian beads and Chinese porcelain found in ruins. Royals in hilltop palaces oversaw soapstone bird carvings, symbols of ancestral spirits. Mind-boggling, Zimbabwe means houses of stone. Its economy boomed on gold exports to Swahili coasts, funding architecture rivaling European cathedrals. Why did this African powerhouse crumble by 1450 CE with no foreign armies at its gates? Was it greed, gods, or something greener? Climate shifts again. Droughts reduced pastures, starving the cattle-based wealth. Trade routes moved north to Kilwa. Internal strife over resources fragmented the kingdom. Oral histories speak of abandonment for fertile lands. Portuguese explorers in the 1500s dismissed it as Ophir from the Bible, denying African origins. Rediscovered properly in 1871, it debunks colonial myths. If resources dry up, do megacities like Johannesburg face similar fates?
Diving underground to Turkey's Cappadocia, Derinkuyu whispers from beneath the earth. Carved starting 1200 BCE by the Hittites, this multi-level city housed 20,000 in volcanic tuff. A resident might descend ventilation shafts to farm mushrooms in damp chambers or mill grain with stone wheels. Chapels with frescoes hosted quiet prayers. Wineries pressed grapes from surface vines. Mind-boggling, 18 levels deep, with rolling stone doors, it had schools, stables, and air shafts doubling as wells, self-sufficient for months. What subterranean secret led to its slow desertion by the 1920s, untouched by conquest? It wasn't collapse, it was evolution, but with a twist.
True fade came with modernization. Earthquakes weakened tunnels, surface life beckoned with autumn instability. By the 20th century, locals sealed entrances for safety, forgetting depths. Rediscovered in 1963 when a homeowner found a hidden room, it's now a tourist maze. Underground cities today, like Singapore's bunkers, echo this, but could climate refugees revive them? To Mesoamerica, Tikal in Guatemala's Petén jungle, Maya pinnacle from 200 CE with 100,000 residents amid pyramids piercing the canopy. Daily rhythm, a priest-king consulted stele calendars for rituals while farmers slashed and burned milpas for corn. Ball courts hosted Pocatawk games, losers sometimes sacrificed. Mind-boggling? Tikal's reservoirs and causeways managed water in limestone karst, supporting dense population with astronomy-guided agriculture. Why the classic Maya collapse around 900 CE, pyramids overgrown without invaders' marks, and what lessons for our deforestation woes? Overpopulation met drought. Lake sediments show 100-year dry spells. Deforestation for plaster and fuel caused erosion, silting water sources. Elites fled, peasants scattered, jungle swallowed all. Rediscovered in 1848 by explorers, LIDAR now reveals hidden roads. Amazon cities face similar threats today. Off to the Pacific, Easter Island's Moai statues stare eternally. Rapa Nui settlements from 1200 CE housed 15,000 Polynesians. Daily, fishermen and outriggers caught tuna, while clans erected 900 statues, ahus platforms for ancestors. Sweet potato farms terraced hills. Mind-boggling, they moved 80-ton moai using ropes and logs, no wheels. What eco-apocalypse stripped the island bare by 1722, no wars recorded? Was it self-inflicted doom? Deforestation for transport and farms, palms gone by 1650, soil eroded, rats ate seeds. Famine led to clan rivalries, population crashing to 2,000. Dutch explorers found survivors. Today, reforestation revives it. Our islands of plastic, next? Submerged 5,000 years ago off Laconia, Greece's underwater city. Bronze Age ports sank slowly from earthquakes and sea rise, no war. Daily, potters fired amphorae for olive oil trade to Crete and beyond. Rediscovered 1967, grids intact under waves. Nan Madol, Micronesia, canal city on artificial islands from 1200 CE, abandoned 1500s due to chiefly decline, overpopulation straining resources. Imagine the hush of wind through empty streets where once laughed, traded, and dreamed. No flames of conquest licked these walls, no armies marched through their gates. Yet one by one, these great cities slipped into silence, swallowed by time's quiet hand. We're diving deeper now, expanding our journey into more forgotten worlds, cities that faded not with a bang, but with a whisper. Hold on, because the mysteries only grow. What if the same invisible forces are at work today, eroding the foundations of our own bustling metropolises? Let's plunge beneath the waves to Petra, off the coast of southern Greece, the world's oldest submerged city dating back 5,000 years to the Bronze Age. Picture a thriving Mycenaean port town with planned streets, courtyards, and two-story buildings. Daily life? Fishermen mended nets at dawn, while potters fired amphorae for olive oil exports to Crete and beyond.
Tombs held woven textiles and bronze tools, evidence of a sophisticated society trading across the Mediterranean. Mind-boggling, sonar maps reveal a grid layout predating known urban planning by millennia, complete with religious buildings and water management systems. But why did this underwater metropolis sink into oblivion around 1000 BCE with no signs of violent destruction? It wasn't a tsunami cataclysm like Atlantis myths, something slower, more insidious. Gradual sea level rise after the Ice Age, combined with tectonic subsidence from earthquakes, lowered the land inch by inch. Residents adapted at first, perhaps raising foundations, but eventually abandoned ship for higher ground. Rediscovered in 1967 by oceanographer Nicholas Fleming and mapped with 3D tech in 2009, Pavlopetri's streets lie just 3 to 4 meters below, preserved like a time capsule. Rising seas today threaten Venice and Miami. Could they join Pavlopetri's fate? Sailing across the Pacific to Nan Madol in Micronesia, the Venice of the Pacific, built on 92 artificial islands from massive basalt logs. From 1200 to 1500 CE, the Sodalaire dynasty ruled here. Daily routine for a commoner: paddle canals and outrigger canoes to tend taro gardens on the main island, then return to walled compounds for feasts of breadfruit and fish. Chiefs resided in tomb-like structures, overseeing rituals with eel sacrifices, eels seen as sacred. Mind-boggling, logs weighing up to 50 tons were quarried 25 kilometers away and rafted here. No wheels, just human ingenuity and perhaps lever systems lost to time. What toppled this megalithic marvel by the 1600s, leaving it to mangroves and legends of magic? No invaders conquered it initially. Overpopulation strained resources, typhoons and rising seas eroded foundations. Internal rebellion overthrew the Sodalaires, but the centralized system collapsed. Oral histories speak of tyranny and famine. Europeans discovered it in the 1800s, mistaking it for lost continents. Today, sinking due to climate, another slow vanish. Pacific islands like Kiribati face submersion now, history repeating.
Crossing to medieval Turkey, Ani stands as a haunting ghost city on the Armenian plateau, once called the City of 1,001 Churches. At its 11th century peak under the Bagratid Kingdom, 100,000 souls filled Silk Road caravanserais and cathedrals with frescoes blending Armenian, Byzantine, and Islamic styles. A merchant's day? Haggle for spices, then attend Mass in the cathedral with double-shelled domes, architectural wonders. Mind-boggling, Ani rivaled Constantinople, Baghdad, and Cairo in splendor, with advanced plumbing and defensive walls. Why did this cosmopolitan jewel decay after the 13th century, churches crumbling without total sack? Earthquakes struck, but something else sealed its fate. Mongol invasions weakened it, but the killer was trade route shifts to Tabriz after Timur's campaigns. Earthquakes in 1319 damaged irreparably. Population drifted away. By Ottoman times, a border ghost town. Rediscovered in the 1800s, its pranged churches evoke melancholy. Border disputes today mirror its isolation. Could geopolitics empty cities again? To the icy fjords of Greenland, where Halsey Church marks the end of Norse settlements. The eastern settlement peaked in the 13th century with farms and churches. Daily, milk cows in stone byres, fish cod in summer, gather berries against scurvy. The last recorded event? A wedding here in 1408. Mind-boggling, Norse Greenlanders survived 500 years building stone churches like this well-preserved one, the best remaining. What chilled this colony into extinction by the 1500s? No mass graves or battle signs. Little Ice Age cooled climates, soils eroded from overgrazing, Trade with Europe dwindled as ivory routes shifted. Inuit arrivals brought cultural pressure, but no war. Families likely migrated back to Iceland or perished quietly, rediscovered in the 1700s. Climate refugees today, echoes of the past. Deeper into mysteries, Skara Brae in Scotland's Orkney Islands, a Neolithic village from 3100 BCE, better preserved than Pompeii, but abandoned slowly. Stone houses with built-in furniture connected by passages. Daily, hunter-gatherers turned farmers ate shellfish, wore grooved-ware pottery. Fade, rising sands or climate shift buried it peacefully. Helike, Greece, swallowed by earthquake and tsunami 373 BCE, but subsidence gradual. Many share threads: climate variability, resource depletion, economic bypass. Mind-boggling connections, from Petra's water to Angkor's canals, hydraulic societies vulnerable to drought spells. Mesa Verde and Cahokia, over-farming soils. Easter Island, isolation amplified errors. Women's stories often overlooked. In Ani, noblewomen commissioned churches. In Tikal, queens ruled. Children's echoes, toys in Skara Brae, Moai eyes watching generations. Modern warnings, Detroit's decline, economic shift, no war, Venice sinking slowly. But hope, some revived, Petra tourism sustains. What undiscovered cities sleep under forests, deserts, seas? LiDAR reveals Amazon urban networks abandoned pre-Columbus due to disease and ecology. History's ghosts whisper, adapt or fade. The slow disappearance isn't defeat, it's evolution's reminder. Our cities, eternal or next in line? As twilight falls on these silent stones, one question lingers. Which modern metropolis will be tomorrow's mystery, overgrown and forgotten?